This edition of the Nutgraf, published on 22nd March 2025, is titled Who Let the Ads Out? Mayhem rules as India's ad agencies get raided over alleged price fixing. 3 days before India's biggest marketing event. Mostly, I write this newsletter because I see things happen around me and I try to put them in a clean, logical narrative that connects them and illustrates the consequences. Well, not today. Today's edition does not really have a clear solution. A lot of mysterious things have happened, but it's really unclear who caused it to happen. If this were a murder whodunit, it would be like if someone tore out the final pages that finally reveal the killer. I imagine this would be frustrating to you as a reader, but I'm being upfront that I don't really have a clear-cut answer. All I can promise is that I'll make the crime as interesting as I can and tell you who gains and who loses, and you can gauge the motives for yourself. Maybe there isn't one killer. Perhaps there are several. Or perhaps there are none. You decide. I'll start with the most exciting part, the murder itself. Here's the news from 2 days ago, as reported by Reuters, and the title of the story is India Raids Ad Giants GroupM Publicis Broadcasters Group Over Price Collusion, Sources Say. And this is the relevant paragraph. Quote, the Indian antitrust body has raided the offices of many global advertising giants, including GroupM, Publicis, Dentsu, and Interpublic Group, and the Broadcasters Industry Group over alleged price collusion. People with direct knowledge told Reuters on Tuesday. Officers of the Competition Commission of India searched around 10 locations after it initiated a case against the agencies and top broadcasters over allegedly fixing ad rates and discounts, said one of the sources. The raids were being carried out in Mumbai, New Delhi, and Gurgaon, the first source said. 5 other sources familiar with the ongoing antitrust operation confirmed the names of the entities being raided. The raids come as the ad landscape in India is seeing major shifts following the $8.5 billion merger between Walt Disney and Reliance's India media assets, which Jefferies analysts say will have a 40% share of the ad market in TV and streaming segments. End quote. Well. Occasionally, I come across an obscure piece of news that makes me turn to the nearest person and ask, wow, isn't that super interesting? Usually, I'm met with blank stares because the popular perception of online advertising is that it's boring and annoying as hell. It's not. A long time ago, I used to work as a product manager in brand advertising at InMobi, an ad network. So in many ways, I'm uniquely qualified to tell you what's happening here and why you should be intrigued as I am. This is no ordinary murder. I could write 10,000 words about how advertising works, but here's the oversimplified version. When you see an ad for, say, a shampoo on television, the way it ended up there is through a chain of entities all the way from the shampoo company to the television company. Usually, the shampoo company goes to an ad agency who spend a few weeks doing things like market research, which are usually outsourced to college students, crafting a personalized brand positioning, which is created by overworked interns after copy-pasting an older client presentation, and making a meticulous 360-degree media buying plan. ChatGPT. The shampoo company gets suitably awed at all the big words that mean nothing, the primary colors that look bold, and the story that sounds evocative. Then they take a look at their own in-house marketing team, who look like a set of bumbling idiots by comparison. So the big shampoo company says the magic words to the ad agency. You're in charge of our account. And from that point on, the ecosystem starts scurrying. The ad agency calls up another smaller agency to make the ad, another contractor to shoot the ad, another to sell the ads, and another to make reports about the ads to the client. Those people call other people, all of whom claim to have their own unique specializations. I'm really not exaggerating when I say that there may be as many as 10 to 15 entities sitting between the company paying for the ad and the television company publishing the ad. All of these entities sit with their bums tightly next to each other, each trying to add their own marginal value and taking their own marginal cut from it. Most of them don't make it for long. Some stay alive longer because they have someone in one entity who has a working relationship with another entity next to them. It's a form of freelance codependency. Online advertising is brutal. It's a jungle out there. And just like the jungle, some beasts are at the top of the food chain. In this case, those are the big ad agencies. You've probably heard of some of them. GroupM, Publicis, Dentsu, Madison, IPG. These are the ones who are bigger than everyone else and hold the accounts of some of the world's biggest advertisers. Coca Cola, Nike, Unilever. And none of this is small business. Just last week, Coca Cola took away its North America media business from GroupM and gave it away to another ad agency, Publicis. The value of that business? $700 million. In the jungle, these ad agencies aren't just big predators. They are giants. And last week, the Competition Commission of India attacked all the giants all at once. This is interesting by itself, but what makes it enthralling is the timing of it. The CCI decided to raid the offices of the biggest global ad agencies just days before the biggest marketing event on the calendar, the Indian Premier League. Now, this could well be a coincidence, but if it is, it's an unfortunate coincidence. The 2-month-long IPL is the time when most Indians are glued to their screens and thus most brands plan their biggest campaigns around this event. This is when they launch new products, do their big repositioning, or just come up with new innovative ways to drive business and awareness. I mean it when I say that the total budgets managed by the 5 biggest ad agencies in the lead up to the IPL probably goes into several hundred crores. This is the time when they show their clients how amazing the campaigns were. This is what gets them the big dollars. This is their big moment. And now, 3 days before the IPL, chaos. These were not perfunctory raids. The raid began on Tuesday at multiple offices across several cities and went on until the early hours of Wednesday morning. CEOs and senior executives of these agencies were confined to boardrooms, watched by CCI officials. Mobile phones and electronic devices were seized and cloned. Hard drives of laptops were scrutinized. Officials also knew what to look for. They poured through rate card agreements, insertion orders, and much more. Some reports suggest that the call records are also going to be examined after this. The financial consequences for these agencies are also quite severe. If they are found guilty of collusion, they could face penalties up to 3 times their profits for the duration of the alleged misconduct or 10% of their total revenue, whichever is higher. For most of India's brands who have signed agreements with these agencies with the IPL around the corner, the future is uncertain. Will their campaign even run this weekend? Should it? Is there some wrongdoing involved? All the news reports are quite hazy on what precipitated the CCI raids on these ad agencies. Some suggest that there was collusion and price fixing between the agencies and broadcasters, but there were no specifics. Also, who exactly is the affected party here? This is the whodunit. I'm not sure who was really responsible for this. The reason why it's much harder to figure this out is because everyone had something to gain from this, depending on your appetite for conspiracy theories. You can choose your own perpetrator. On one hand, smaller ad agencies have a lot of reasons to be unhappy with bigger ad agencies who corner most of the business and make it difficult to compete against. Of all the ad agencies out there, the one that has the fewest friends is also the one that's the biggest by quite a margin. GroupM, owned by WPP. As the Reuters story notes, WPP had a 45% media market share in India in 2023, with 45 of the top 50 advertisers as clients. And that market share is what WPP claims. Most industry insiders believe that number to be much larger. If someone told me that one of the other ad agencies approached the CCI with some damaging information of how WPP was doing business with broadcasters and got them interested, I wouldn't be surprised. The fact that multiple agencies were raided may just be a smokescreen. At least one report noted that, and I quote, raids are typically conducted across all entities, including the complainant, as a way to protect the identity of the complainant from risk. End quote. Another popular theory is that the complaint came from an unhappy advertiser. In some ways, this makes sense. If ad agencies are working together to create a standard rate to advertise on broadcasters, well, I can see why some big advertisers may have a problem with that. You could say, well, why not just bypass them and go directly to the broadcaster? You could, except maybe the broadcaster refuses to work with individual advertisers and directs them back to one of the ad agencies who command the price. As an analogy, it's like if you want to buy a plane ticket, but all the airlines just told you, sorry, you can't just buy it here directly. We accept orders only via these 5 ticket booking platforms. And so you go to one of those platforms and you find out that all of them have the same price for the ticket, which is double of what you believe the price of the ticket is. If you are in such a position, you may believe that the airlines and the ticket booking platforms are working together to inflate the price. The problem with the unhappy advertiser theory is that broadcasters don't really need to do this circus. They set the rates themselves. So it's unreasonable for them to set the same rate for all agencies. It's not really an indication of collusion. Maybe if some broadcasters were offering some concessions to some ad agencies, well, that would be strange. But is that anti-competitive? I'm not sure. My favorite theory is that the affected party is not an advertiser or another ad agency, but a broadcaster. If you put yourself in their shoes, you can imagine them looking at these ad agencies and wondering, what exactly are you doing here and what value do you add? While advertisers may see agencies as extensions of their marketing departments, broadcasters can see them as pesky middlemen who take a cut out of the advertising budget, a cut that they believe they don't deserve to get in the first place. As a hypothetical example, put yourself in the shoes of a broadcaster like, say, Jio Hotstar. The IPL is their biggest event. A few weeks ago, I wrote that Jio was pitching, quote, neural brain mapping technology to advertisers, along with significant hikes in advertising rates for the IPL. Back then, I wrote, and I quote, of course, one reason why Reliance has to say more is because advertisers are not convinced that saying that is good enough. As the Reuters story notes, this is partly because Reliance raised advertising rates this year by up to 25%. It's one thing to be more expensive, but advertising is a two-sided market. You can raise prices all you want, but unless there's demand that's willing to pay for that price at the density that you desire, it's practically pointless. In many ways, price discovery is automatic in advertising that happens at scale. If you are Reliance, you really can't do much. I'm assuming one of the reasons why Reliance is doing all of this fancy brain mapping stuff is because enough advertisers aren't convinced about the ROI they'll get from advertising in the IPL. End quote. Maybe, from Jio Hotstar's perspective, their ad rates are perfectly reasonable and maybe even advertisers were willing to pay for it, but these ad agencies were sitting in the middle and making it unreasonable for advertisers and for Jio Hotstar. Both advertisers and the broadcaster win if they go direct. To put it another way, if you are looking to buy a house and you found someone looking to sell theirs and everything is wonderful, but the pricing isn't working out, maybe you both start wondering if the broker is the one who's screwing over both of you. So, who let the ads out? We'll probably never know. But one thing we know is that big agencies have lots of friends they call to help do business and outsource work to. But they also have lots of enemies who'd love to see them disappear. And like most things, that too is a law of the jungle. This episode was written and narrated by me, Praveen Gopal Krishnan. You can find the full edition on our website, theken.com/the Nutgraf. Credits for sound, theme music, and editing goes to Rajiv CN. I'll see you again next week.